Week 8 has come and gone. We're past the old halfway point of the NFL season. Fortunately, added a couple of games a couple of years ago, so we still have more than half a season of football left to go. But this was, just like always, an action-packed week. But I think even more than normal, we saw things we haven't seen in a long time that we'll obviously get to. We saw a game-winning Hail Mary. We saw more and more injuries happen. We saw more and more game-winning field goals, crazy plays, punt returns, long kickoffs. There's a lot to uncover this week. So without further ado, we'll just hurry and jump into it. This is K&A Football. So Austin, like I said, week 8, this would be the halfway point. I'm very glad that it's not. I'm glad we have more than half the season still for football.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It feels like these last 8 weeks have absolutely flown by. So to know that we have, at least 8 weeks plus another one for a little bit extra spice because the NFL loves money is really, really nice.
And hopefully they love money so much that someday they'll add even more games. Make it an NBA type season.
Yeah, we'll have an NBA, MLB type season where no game really matters, nothing matters, everything is dark.
Well, I actually am not hoping for that, but yeah. That's why the NFL is so much superior, because every game matters, unlike the NBA. I'm sorry, NBA fans, if there are any of you out there. There's not. There. But yeah, that's why the NBA sucks. But this is a football podcast. We're not going to just talk about the NBA. We're going to dive right into this week's top 3 plays of the week. And let's just say there was a lot of good plays this week. But we'll jump into play number 3. Came from the rookie clash, the Bears and the Commanders. DeAndre Swift, he was quiet at the beginning of the season, but he's really stepped up as of late. He had a breakaway run. Debbie, you can go ahead and roll the clip here. DeAndre Swift goes ahead. I'm not going to spoil it, actually. I'll just stop talking. So DeAndre Swift gets the carry. Wow, we have a very laggy video for some reason. DeAndre Swift goes, breaks many tackles, tippy-toes the sideline, and goes down for the 56-yard touchdown to put the Bears on the scoreboard. They were losing 12-0 at this moment in time. It was a struggle for the Bears offense up until this point.
Yeah, so obviously that run is really, really big for the Bears to be able to open the scoring and, not make, kind of open the scoring, get themselves back in this game so that we can have, we'll discuss it later, one of the more entertaining games of the season so far.
Mm-hmm. And Austin, you can go ahead and take this next one. I know off air last week we had a little bit of not a fight. I'm not going to call it a fight, but a debate about the coolness of a punt return. So I know you love your punt returns, so you can go ahead and take this next one.
Yeah, so for this next one we have the Lions-Titans game. There's a 90-yard punt return touchdown. So, Debbie, if we go ahead and roll that. Now, the reason that this is more spectacular than a kickoff return is because they're just statistically more rare. Punt returns just happen less often than kickoff returns. So, here we go. The Titans go ahead and punt the ball away. Raymond gets it about the 10-yard line, finds the hole, and takes off 90 yards to the house. So, this one doesn't matter as much. We have, 35 to 14 at the time was the time of this punt return. So it doesn't end up mattering all that much in the grand scheme of things, but it is cool to see a punt return. But as we've had now 2 in the last 2 weeks, maybe they're becoming more common. So maybe we shouldn't put them in here as often.
If there's another one next week, I don't think we can put it in.
Yeah, we can't put it in if there's another one next week. Sorry, whoever does it. Unless it's like a 110-yard, for some reason, pull it out of your own end zone type deal. Take it back for touchdown. Okay, and then the last one that we're going to cover here is, of course, it is Jayden Daniels' Hail Mary. to walk off the game. If you didn't know that this was going to happen, sorry for the spoiler alert, but it is, of course, our play of the week. So here we go. Last 2 seconds of the game. Washington is down 12-15. Jayden Daniels drops back, needs everything, evades the pressure, rolls out to his right, cuts back all the way to his left, back in the middle of the field, and absolutely launches this thing. I mean, we're going to talk about a 60-yard launch. Gets tipped at the one and touchdown. The Commanders walk off the Hail Mary. This is exactly what I've been thinking for years now, which is like, why don't teams just, like, when you have a Hail Mary, why is everyone running like into the end zone? Like, I think that it is a better idea to have your guys all trying to catch it at like the 1 yard line and then have a guy chilling behind there. And here we go. He worked out for him. End up getting the Hail Mary to seal the game, walk it off for a touchdown. We'll break down this game in just a second, but it was an absolute thriller.
It was. That was one of the most exciting plays I've seen in a long time. I mean, Jayden Daniels himself is just such a fun player to watch. Super fun rookie. And me and my dad were watching this game. My mom even was in the room. We're all watching this. And then the Hail Mary happens. It was caught. It was, obviously tipped and caught. We all, including my mom, screamed like we were diehard Washington fans. Like, that was just, like, if you're a football fan, that makes you excited. Like you see that like once. Like, yes, we saw Aaron Rodgers do one earlier this season, but that was at halftime. You don't see a game-winning one ever. I think the last time we saw something like that was the Hail Mary when it was the Cardinals and the Bills on that game. But so super rare play. We'll get into it. So we'll save more of the analysis for the recap. So I guess we can just jump right into the recap. And you might be thinking, why are we talking about the Bears and Commanders game first? They played at 4:25. Why aren't you talking about the Thursday game? Well, Austin and I have decided that every week we kind of want to do a game of the week type thing, where the best game, the game that has the most stuff that we want to talk about, we're going to put that game first, whether that be a Monday night game, a Sunday night game, or the Thursday night game. We're going to put it first on our slate of games so that, you don't want to start the show off with the boring Thursday night games, because almost every Thursday night game has been boring. So why not start it with the game of the week? And the Bears Commanders, as you can see, is the game of the week. So we can jump into it. I mean, Commanders won 18-15, as we just saw, off of the Jayden Daniels amazing Hail Mary. I can't give Jayden Daniels enough props. I mean, I know that takes a lot of luck, a lot of just happen to be in the right place at the right time, but for Jayden Daniels to, be able to move and evade in the pocket and get away from the rushers, that was a 13-second play. And that for any QB to be able to just scramble around for that long is impressive. And also, he threw that ball from the 35-yard line. That thing traveled like 65 yards in the air. That was impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And, while we have these big plays, we had two of our top three plays of the week in this game. We had DeAndre Swift with his big run. And we had the Hail Mary here. It wasn't really all that like a super impressive game on at least the Bears side of the ball. Caleb Williams only completed 41% of his passes. He only had 131 yards through the air. DeAndre Swift, did a little better for them. He had 129 rushing yards, but obviously almost a majority of that came from the one play that we showed you guys just a second ago. On the Commander side of the ball, it was a lot better. Jayden Daniels had 326 passing yards. So that's substantially better. He did only complete 55% of his passes, though. They did not have much success on the ground. Brian Robinson was their leading rusher with only 65 yards. So that didn't go over too well for them. But it obviously turned out to be an entertaining game because it came all the way down to the wire. Needed a walk-off Hail Mary to win it, and they got it. I'm sure that you guys have seen the clip of the Bears cornerback that's, standing there all cocky. He's mocking the fans a little bit. The play happens for like 3 seconds before he even turns his back to face the field again. And then it turns out that he was the one that tipped the ball up that got the touchdown, which is just hilarious. Like if he would have kept chirping at the fans instead of getting involved in the play, they wouldn't have scored that touchdown.
They'd have won the game.
Yeah, it's hilarious that he decides to chirp at the fans, get involved, tips the ball up. It's just peak right there.
Yeah. I mean, that guy had a terrible Monday watching film. I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. All right. So that's going to do it for our game of the week. Now let's get into the Thursday night game, which is the Vikings and Rams. So the Vikings started off the season 4-0. Was it 4-0, 5-0? Started off 5-0. Doing very, very well for themselves.
Correct, yeah.
They play the Lions last week. They take their first loss. All right, that's fine. You're playing the Lions. That's all right. They're a good team. Good team to lose to. Then you come in this week. Okay, we got to course correct. We got to get back on track. Okay, now they lose to the Rams, 30-20. Not the result that you want if you're a Vikings fan, seeing as how well you were playing in those first 5 games. Now you're down 2 games. Not the best in the world. But the big storyline of this game was that the Rams, they had like everyone back this game. Cooper Kupp was back, Puka Nacua back. So they were firing on all cylinders, which this is the Rams that you thought you were going to see at the beginning of the year. Matthew Stafford had 270 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, absolutely massive for them. And then the Vikings didn't have too terrible of a day. I mean, they did put up 20 points, but Sam Darnold had 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no success on the ground whatsoever. So it was really the Rams' game to have.
It was, and like you said, all their entire offense for the most part was back this game. Puka Nacua had 106 yards in his return. Cooper Kupp only had 50 yards, but he scored a pretty big touchdown in this game. I mean, it was short, but it was an important touchdown. Kyren Williams, he continues scoring touchdowns. I think he's hit his touchdown streak. I think he's scored a touchdown in. Do you know the exact number and how many straight games Kyren Williams has scored a touchdown?
I don't.
Debbie could probably figure that out unless Debbie's busy. I can ask Debbie. Debbie, are you busy? What was it? Debbie is busy.
Debbie was busy.
Kyren Williams touchdown streak. Let's see. What's your guess? I know it's. Oh wow, that's higher than I thought it was.
Oh boy, I'm gonna go 5 then. 5 games.
He has scored a touchdown in 10 straight games.
Wow.
It's pretty good. He's getting up there to Christian McCaffrey levels. I mean, Christian McCaffrey last season, I think, broke the record or tied the record with 16.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest, a couple games away from potentially breaking or tying that record. So I mean, yeah, like we were saying though, the Rams, their offense is amazing. I mean, 30 points against the Vikings defense, who, remember, people were saying the Vikings are undefeated because of their defense. They have such a great scheme. They have such amazing players. Like, in their offense just is playing good, but their defense is just so good. 30 points against the Vikings defense. I mean, the Rams season looked kind of over. They were, I think, 1-4, 1-5, and now they've rattled off 2 straight wins, and they're getting all their guys back. So if they can continue to get more and more healthy and rattle off some wins, no one's saying they're going to the playoffs, but who's to say they don't end up mid-tier? I mean, hey, they no one gave them a chance to win this game, and here they went out and won.
Exactly. All right, next game that we have here is the Ravens and Browns. I'll give the Ravens their due to start, and then you know what's about to happen. So, first off, for Lamar Jackson, he had 289 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and there kind of ends the Ravens' success. Their success was through the air. The Browns defense was able to hold Derrick Henry to only 73 rushing yards. There's virtually no success for the Ravens on the ground other than a couple big breakaway runs. But other than that, not too much success for the Browns. First game without Deshaun Watson. What are we going to do? We don't have our starter. Okay, come on. Everyone knew that we were going to have a better game this game than we've ever had with Deshaun Watson. I mean, we saw that last year. As soon as Deshaun Watson was out, we just had better games all around. We actually won. Joe Flacco, he is doing very well for himself this year, but he was able to lead us to a handful of wins. We have Deshaun Watson has not thrown for over 300 yards his entire time in Cleveland. Jameis Winston's first game as a starter in Cleveland. He has not been a starter since 2022. He threw for 343 yards and 3 touchdowns. Our defense went absolutely insane. We played better defense than I've ever seen this entire season. The offensive line looked like they actually liked the guy they were trying to protect. They weren't letting everyone through. Like, I don't know what's something that lets a lot of things through. I don't know. A colander. It was all around fantastic. Now, the story of this game was the dropped interceptions. Mm-hmm. I mean, if every interception that could have happened in this game, we would have had like a 14 interception game. Okay. Jameis Winston threw some terrible balls, but I mean, that's what you get with Jameis Winston.
Right.
Yeah. He has 99 career interceptions. It's what happens. Jameis Winston.
Wait, he has 9. Did you say he has 99?
Yes, that's what I said.
Well, they need to give his next interception ball back to him for his 100.
That's so true. But I've kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, he threw a couple bad ones. That's the Jameis Winston experience, though. You get games where you have 4 touchdowns, then you get games where you have 8 interceptions. That's just how it works. Then on the Ravens side, same sort of situation. There were a couple that should have been intercepted but weren't. That's just how the game goes. The sun was really affecting a lot. But the Browns end up winning this one 29-24. I could not be more excited. I'm not going to say we're going to win the Super Bowl, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility.
Austin. Oh, my. Dude, for those of you... All right. Let me pull up our text. Austin on Sunday around... What time would you say this ended? Probably around 4. I can't get on you too hard for this because I know I do the same thing.
I remember when Andy Dalton.
Correct. That's why I said I can't beat you too hard on this. But here we go. I actually probably should not read this on the pod. Some of the things Austin said were a little weird, but we're gonna skip that message. But then he said, all right. Austin's very excited about the... Wow, I wish we weren't live because I didn't realize...
I don't even remember what I texted.
No, it wasn't anything bad. It's just things that... It's going to make you sound really weird if I say them on the podcast. So,
all right, fine.
Austin's very excited about
you for looking out for me.
About the potential of the Browns. Debbie, I don't think there's a way that you could clip that, or not clip that. Definitely not clip that. Clip that out. That would be appreciated. But if not, that's all right. But yeah, I mean, Austin, as a friend, don't get your hopes up too much. But I feel like we do always see this. The Browns and the Ravens are always in close games, no matter how the teams are. I mean, the Browns beat the Ravens last year with Deshaun in Deshaun's last game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these divisional games, these rivalry games, they always, for anyone really, like they can go either way. You just know each other so well. You play each other twice a year. It's just how it works. So obviously good to get this win. We'll see what happens with the Chargers next week. They're also on a little bit of a hot streak. So hopefully we can carry this momentum in. All right. The next game that we have here is the Titans and Lions. We will spend virtually no time on this game. As you can see, the Lions won 52-14. So, don't need to say too much there. Mason Rudolph actually had an okay day. He had 266 yards. He did have 2 interceptions, so that's not fantastic for him. Jared Goff, I don't really know how they put up as many points as they did. He had 3 touchdown passes. He only had 85 yards, which is crazy. But the real success obviously came on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs, their leading rusher, had 127 yards. I think David Montgomery had close to 100 as well. So that's obviously where they found their success. But statement win from the Lions yet again.
Statement win from the Lions. And the Lions right now are, I think it's very fair to say, the best team in the NFL. Yes, the Chiefs are undefeated.
They're ranked first in the power rankings.
Are they? I mean, they most definitely should be. I mean, they're not undefeated like the Chiefs, I understand. But they're just dominating everybody they play. It's the Titans, I know. but they smoked the Titans. Don't even let it be a contest. It was a little bit in the first quarter, but then they're like, oh, hold on, we're the Lions, and they win. Destroyed the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago. Beat the Vikings last 2 weeks, who were then undefeated. They're doing whatever they want to, offensively, defensively. Jared Goff threw 3 touchdowns in this game. I think he only. Hold on, now I'm very curious. The Lions in their last 5 weeks have more touchdown passes than incomplete passes.
Yes,
that is an absurd stat line. No, maybe not touchdown passes, maybe just touchdowns, because Jared Goff barely throws the ball because they just run. But more touchdowns than incomplete passes, which is insane. Jared Goff in this game, 85 passing yards, and they put up 52 points. That is like you don't even need your quarterback to go out there and perform, and you're still putting up 52 points in a game. Like their offense is so good, their defense is amazing. They're elite right now, and there's nothing else to say about them.
Yeah. I'd love to talk more about it, except no, I wouldn't, because it was a blowout game. We have more to talk about, and we are short.
There's actually, I don't think, any bye weeks this week, so we probably should go faster.
Yeah. So the next game we have here is the Colts and Texans. I didn't watch too much of this game, like at all, actually, because it was happening at the same time as the Browns game, so didn't catch too much of it. But I can tell you guys the storyline here. Storyline is Anthony Richardson is done. I don't know for how long, but he is done. He went a whopping 175 passing yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, with a 31% completion rating. Completion percentage, sorry. At halftime, I think he was 2 for 15, which is like, whoa, that's insane. Insanely brilliant from Anthony Richardson. What great passing. And then in the third quarter, he pulled himself. He said, you know what? That's okay. I'm good. And he tapped out. He substituted himself out, which is crazy. So, and then the Colts announced today that,
well, he did that because he was tired, but correct.
Yeah, he was tired. How do you get tired in the NFL? That's insane. Your entire job is to play football. That's ridiculous. So the Colts announced today that they will be starting Joe Flacco, and Anthony Richardson is benched.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like you said, 2 for 15 at halftime. Like, don't look past that. Listen to that again. Like, I sent a screenshot of his box score to you guys at halftime. He was 2 for 15 with an interception and 80 yards because he just, throws one bomb and everyone's like, oh, he's so good. No, he's clearly not good. That's why they benched him. He has the athletic ability and the traits to be such an elite quarterback. He has the speed, he has the size, he has the arm strength, but he just, the most important thing is accuracy, is being able to, throw the ball to your receivers. And he can't. He physically cannot do that. And it's super sad because, and that was his worry coming out of college. And everyone, it's like, oh, I can fix this guy. I can make him elite. I can make him Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, one of these guys. No, you can't. And there was a big talk. The Panthers, maybe they'll take him at number 1. They ultimately didn't. They went with Bryce Young. I was so glad because they didn't get Richardson. Turns out right now they kind of equally suck. But Richardson seriously needs to go to one of those things at Dave and Buster's or an arcade where you're there's literally those one of those big holes and a target type thing, and you just have a football and you it's like target practice. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you just throw it at the target. He needs to go for 2 weeks. Don't go to practice. And just go to Dave and Buster's or go to wherever you're going and just try to throw it in there. And I guarantee you he's going to miss, first of all. But eventually maybe you'll get to the point where 1 in every 25 goes in the target. And then that's improvement for Anthony Richardson right now because he's really struggling. Yeah. But, if he can eventually get that going, they will be good. And I think they will be good the rest of the season with Joe Flacco. This is a team that was 1 game away from the playoffs last year with Gardner Minshew.
Exactly. So look for that coming up. And then the other storyline, obviously outside of the Texans winning, is that Trevon Diggs did tear his ACL in this game, so he will be missing the remainder of the season. Obviously, that was a big storyline coming into the year because they got him from Buffalo, and we're all looking for him to be a great wide receiver. And then the Texans wide receivers have just been riddled with injuries this year. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, now Trevon Diggs, all injured for various reasons for various amounts of time throughout this year. So I don't know what's going on with the wide receivers in Texas, but they need to. I don't know. The strength coach needs to get on that. All right, next game here is going to be the Packers and Jaguars. Let me pull up the box score here. We have Jordan Love with not the best game in the world. He had 196 yards through the air, one interception, no touchdowns. Josh Jacobs helped the team quite a bit. He had 127 rushing yards on 25 attempts, 2 touchdowns. On the Jaguars side of the ball, they had a better day through the air, 308 yards for Trevor Lawrence, 2 touchdowns, but an interception. Yet again, Travis Etienne is not to be spoken of. I can't remember if he was injured this week or not, but regardless, not to be spoken of. Then Jordan Love avoided disaster yet again. He came out of this game after pulling his groin, and they suspected that it may have been serious. They came out after the game and said that they are, I think there was high concern is the word that they used. So there was high concern for him, but all testing proved that he was okay. Everything's fine. So we will see him again. It was just a light strain, apparently. But the Packers did win 30-27, dropping the Jaguars another game now that they are back out of London.
Yeah, and the Packers prove that having a good backup quarterback is one of the most underrated and important things in football. Malik Willis this season has started 2 games, won both of them, and now he came in at the end of this game and led a game-winning drive when the game was tied up. I mean, Malik Willis is playing like one of the best backup quarterbacks. He's not a starter, but when he needs to come in for halfway through a game or he needs to start a couple games here or there, he's proving that he is that guy and he can do that for your team. And with the right places and the right coaches and the right people around him, he can get it done. And Jordan Love, he's already been injured twice this season, and Malik Willis has been able to step up and help this team. And in a very competitive NFC North and NFC as a whole, you can't afford to lose these games, especially like losing your starting quarterback. But he's keeping them not just afloat. It's not a drop off right now with Jordan Love and Malik Willis, and it's great move by the Packers bringing him in before the season started.
Yeah, absolutely. Then the next game that we have is the Cardinals and Dolphins. So this is Tua's first game back after his concussion hiatus. He then proceeds to, first off, he learned how to slide. So if you guys saw that video, Tua takes off on a run and everyone's like, oh, here he goes. He's going further, Tua. And then I think everyone's kind of getting worried because the defender started to close in. You're like, oh, he's not wearing the Guardian cap. Personal reasons. And then he slid. He didn't go helmet first.
And Miami fans went crazy.
Yeah, the stadium went absolutely insane. So good for Tua. I'm glad that he used his time off to learn how to baseball slide. That is massively important. I'm glad that he no longer dives head first.
His whole rehab.
Yep. Just baseball slide. So he went 234 yards, 1 touchdown. On the Cardinals side, Kyler Murray went 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the Cardinals were able to kick a walk-off field goal to win this thing 28-27.
Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals' offense looked pretty good in this game. I mean, James Conner was struggling. The Miami rushing defense played very well. They didn't let many big broken plays happen. I mean, passing wise, Trey McBride had a lot of receiving yards. He had 124. Marvin Harrison, 111 and a touchdown. Marvin Harrison, by the way, makes incredible catches. He drops the easy ones and then he catches the ones that are like, okay, no human being should be able to catch that ball. And he does. I mean, he plays, watching him play is so fun. But Michael Wilson Cardinals, I believe, number 2 wide receiver got injured in this game, and it looks like he's going to miss a little bit of time. And that could be important. He's a very underrated wide receiver for the Cardinals. And, I mean, hey, Cardinals are 4-4 right now, and they're first in the NFC West. Did you know
crazy.
that?
I did not know that they were first.
Yeah.
I knew that the division was bad over there, but I didn't realize it was that
The
dire.
division's struggling, but they're 4-4 tied for the lead with the 49ers, but they have the tiebreaker right now over the 49ers. That is insane to me. But then, yeah, on the other side of it, Tua did not play terrible. I mean, he had 234 yards, a touchdown. The rest of the Dolphins, this is what we've been looking for. Tyreek Hill, he still only had 72 yards, so he didn't have his breakout game. But Devon
He was struggling
Achane,
with his foot, though, if you remember. He was questionable before this game with a foot injury.
Correct. Devon
So
Achane.
that probably played a little bit.
Yeah, Devon Achane was back, 97 yards and a touchdown, where he Mostert 2 touchdowns. Like the whole Dolphins offense, just they needed Tua back, and this was I know they lost the game, but this was a much needed return for Tua and the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, but the difference between without Tua and with Tua is night and day. I mean, Tua should, if you're talking about like most valuable player for a team, he should win it.
He's the most valuable player of all time.
He is. Like without Tua, they are nothing. With him, they are one of the better teams in the league, even though they obviously lost to the Cardinals here. All right, next game we have is the Jets and Patriots. The Jets wound up losing this one 22-25. The Jets are rapidly running out of excuses on why they keep losing these games, because the Patriots should be an easy one. I mean, the Texans blew them out of the water last week. So you would expect them, Jets, if they're anything, to at least win. But 22-25, Patriots win this thing. Drake May left the game early with a head injury. I don't remember if it was a concussion, or I would assume it was a concussion, but it just said head injury. So we got to see Jacoby Brissett again. Not the most impressive day for the offense, but they did end up getting the win, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and Jacoby Brissett, he came in and he had a pretty solid day. He had 132 yards. I mean, no touchdowns, no picks, but he only played half the game. Ramondre Stevenson, 2 big touchdowns. When I say big, they weren't long, but they were important is what I always mean by that.
Right.
I mean, he only had his longest run of the day was 7 yards. So the Jets were doing a good job at stopping the run, but they were getting short little touchdowns. But like you said, the Jets found a way to lose once again. I mean, since bringing in Devontae Adams, they're 0-2. Since firing Robert Saleh, they're 0-3. And Aaron Rodgers, his new victim was the media. He blamed the media for why they're losing, which, makes total sense. Hey, why are you guys losing? Oh, you guys are putting too much expectations on us. No, Aaron, you guys are just not a good football team, and you're not a good quarterback anymore, and you need to accept that. And all of the Aaron Rodgers Glazers need to accept that as well. Cough, cough, Harold Mansfield. Aaron Rodgers is not a good quarterback anymore. But, I mean, yeah, Breece Hall didn't have a good game. Braylon Hall didn't have a good game. He had a touchdown. But Garrett Wilson, he was the number 1 receiver once again, 113 yards. Devontae Adams, the big trade, only 54 yards in this game. The Jets are now 2-6. They're bottom of the AFC East, behind the Patriots. This was the Patriots fans' Super Bowl. And look, they know they're not going to the playoffs. They know they might not win another game this season, but this might have ended the Jets season. The Jets are not coming back from this. The Jets are 2-6. Yes, they could win out and finish 11-6 and make the playoffs. Yes, I know. But that's not going to happen. I feel like this was the nail in the coffin that's like, okay, the Jets are done. Jet season is over. Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. We just ended your season. Haha. Like, yeah. And I think that's how Patriots fans should feel and do feel.
Yeah. All right. The next game that we have here is the Falcons and Buccaneers. So, Falcons ended up winning this one 31-26. Kirk Cousins had a phenomenal day, 276 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts, he exists. I know he exists. He is not the worst. He had 91 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. One of them, a little controversial. Kyle Pitts was very stupid with the ball. He held it out celebrating too early. It looked like maybe he was short of the end zone. Maybe the ball broke the plane. Not really sure. The on-field officials ruled that it was a touchdown, and there wasn't enough evidence to overturn, even though it was so close. But because they ruled it on the field, it will stand. Baker Mayfield also had a decent day. I am going to be completely honest here. I have Baker Mayfield on a couple of my fantasy teams. I decided not to start him this week, even though he has been performing very well. I decided not to start him because he did not have Mike Evans. He is hurt and out for a couple of weeks. He does not have Chris Godwin. He dislocated his ankle and will not be there for the rest of the year. And I was like, Baker Mayfield, he's been playing very, very good football, but he's lost Chris Godwin. He is, even though he didn't play this week, I think he's still third in receiving yards in the NFL.
Second.
So that's second. Yeah. So, I mean, that's huge. Mike Evans, obviously one of the best wide receivers we've ever seen. Baker Mayfield proceeded to then say, you know what? I don't need those guys. Watch me. So he goes 330 yards, 3 touchdowns. He does have 2 interceptions, though, so that is pretty big on why they didn't end up winning this game. If he doesn't throw at least one of those interceptions, you probably go down and score, make this game a little bit closer. So 2 interceptions does hurt you quite a bit, but not the end of the world. Decent day.
Hey, let me ask you this before I start talking about the game. You in our Dynasty Fantasy Football League, you have Aaron Rodgers, and we start 2 quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah.
So you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Baker Mayfield, and you also have Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. And you just said you didn't play Baker in a lot of leagues. Did you play Bryce Young over Baker?
No, I played Baker this week. Okay. That was the only league where I have Baker and I started him. Any other league where I had an option.
Oh, that's right, because you're in like 45 leagues, so you probably have
exactly. So I have
shares
and I have Baker in like all of them. So
okay, right. But yeah, the Falcons Bucks games this year have been cinema. I mean, that Thursday night game, I think one of the games of the year so far, and this one, 31-26, came down to the very end as well. I mean, I wish these teams could play more because it's amazing every time they do. Kirk Cousins apparently loves playing against the Bucks because he threw for 509 yards last game. He only threw for 276 this time, but he threw for 4 touchdowns. Like you said, 2 to Kyle Pitts. The Falcons are taking control of the NFC South. They have the sole possession of first place with a 5-3 record. The Bucks are only a game behind at 4-4, but the Falcons have that tiebreaker, so that does play into effect. And also, the Bucks, like you said, now they're going to continue at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks. No Mike Evans. Rest of the season, no Godwin. So we're going to see how the Bucks can handle it. I mean, it didn't look like you said. It didn't look like it affected them too much in this game, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on here because we have time to get to. So the next game here is the Eagles and Bengals. This game all the way up until like the last quarter was tied at 17. And then the Eagles just walk away with this one. They score, another touchdown and then 13 points in the fourth quarter to go up 37-17. Jalen Hurts, okay day, 236 through the air. Saquon Barkley, 108 on the ground. I mean, we won't spend too much time on this, but I think that T. Higgins, he did not play in this game, and I think that he is making a case for why he needs paid. In games where T. Higgins does not play, the Bengals really struggle. In games where T. Higgins plays, they go crazy because, I mean, we say it every time that we talk about this. We're kind of beating a dead horse at this point. But to be able to have a guy like T. Higgins as your number 2 in Tampa Bay, to be able to have a guy like Chris Godwin as your alleged number 2, it is so helpful. Like, your number 1 is double covered, which means your number 2, who is insane, gets to go crazy, gets to do whatever he wants with the second corner on that team. So T. Higgins is really making a case for why the Bengals need to pay him next year, but I honestly don't know if they have the money for it. But that's not to take away props from the Eagles for kind of decimating the Bengals here.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns in this game, 3 tush pushes, and I hate it. And it's one of my least. Debbie's laughing. It's probably my least favorite play in football. Honestly, like it's whatever.
You're just mad that he's gonna have like the most touchdown, like 1 yard touchdowns of like any quarterback ever.
Of any player ever.
Yeah, fair enough.
Debbie does not know football. If you guys aren't paying attention,
Debbie don't know ball.
Debbie, Cam, before your time, before you were a football fan, which Cam Newton existed, and I believe he has the most rushing touchdowns as a QB ever.
Hey, that's not me saying that. That's one of the announcers during the game that was saying that he's gonna have like probably one of the most. So, talk to them.
Yeah, in our studio, you see there's a Baker Mayfield Browns jersey hanging up. Obviously, not my choice. I would never do that. And then there's a Jalen Hurts jersey. Again, not my choice. Where's the Panthers jersey, Debbie?
You buy the jerseys.
There's a Browns jersey. There's a Eagles jersey. There's
that's
a really cool K&A
all
Football
these
sign.
Subscribers need to go to the KNF Decks. We need more support, guys, because Kadin's not paying for the jerseys.
Okay, but you're not hearing me. Whatever. You know what Panthers thing we have? We have a little bit of football cards that aren't even turned onto the Panthers page. They're on the Patriots. So
we live in Ohio.
You're right. We live in Ohio. Why is there a Philadelphia Eagles jersey on the wall, Debbie?
There's no coming back from that one. No comment at this time.
No comment.
All right, the next game that we're going to talk about here is the Saints and Chargers. The Chargers ended up winning this one 26-8. Desmond Ridder was pulled from this game. He was benched mid-game, so he finished the game, or he finished his day with 156 yards through the air and a 50% completion rating.
Hold on. Did you say Desmond Ridder?
Spencer Rattler. I'm so sorry. Not Desmond Ridder. Spencer Rattler. He was pulled from the game. The Chargers had a much better day. I mean, they scored 26 points on what we thought was a good Saints defense. Justin Herbert went for 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. And honestly, the Saints fall off is incredible. Steady. Like, I understand that you don't have Derek Carr at this moment, and so I understand that that's hurting you. But like, your defense has not been doing you any favors these last couple of weeks, and they were supposed to be the best part of your team going into the season. They're non-existent anymore. And the fact that you can blow out teams at the beginning of the year, your first 2 games, you blew out both those teams, and you're like, whoa, are the Saints good? Turns out they're only good with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the lifeblood of that team. Without him, they are nothing.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying at the start of the season, get rid of Derek Carr and let's start Desmond Ridder.
Yeah. See, it's not just me. It is not just me. Spencer Rattler gives Desmond Ridder.
Wow, why does that? Those two aren't even like relatable.
I know.
I'm so sorry for giving you hate on that, but yeah, the Chargers are making Herbert throw more, and it's working. They are scoring more points, and they're a better offense when they don't run the ball 75,000 times a game because John Harbaugh is their coach. So they should keep passing, and Harbaugh's breathe, Kadin. You're really struggling to say words here on this podcast. Herbert is a good quarterback, as you know, K&A Football has mentioned many times, but
at least 50% of K&A Football. All right, next game we have here is the Bills and Seahawks. The Bills, we're not going to spend too much time here either. Bills win this one 31-10. Absolute blowout victory. Josh Allen, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. James Cook, 111 yards on the ground. Geno Smith, actually decent day from him, despite the fact they only put up 10 points. He had 212 yards with a 72% completion rating. He is atop the NFL for passing yards right now. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Geno Smith, man. He had a great year 2 years ago, not a great year last year. Back on top. He deserves this. He's had a wild ride of a career.
Yeah, they're not winning games, but he's playing very well.
Exactly. All right. Then the next one we're going to talk about here is Kadin, your team. We have the Panthers and Broncos. Broncos win this one 28-14. Kadin, I'll let you touch on this one, and then we're moving on from this game as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bryce Young was on, like we talked about. Bryce Young was back in this game. He didn't play like a 2 a.m. Walmart or 2 a.m. Taco Bell employee or a Walmart employee. He played like a Dollar General employee in this one. He had 2 touchdowns. They scored. They actually had a 7-point lead first drive, but we knew they weren't going to win this game. Denver has a good defense. For anybody that says the Panthers and the Saints is not a big rivalry, you're proven wrong, because do you know where I'm going with this, Austin?
No, I don't.
Oh, because Sean Payton, head coach of the Broncos now, he was running that score up. They're running fake field goals up 21 points late in the game. They're going for it on 4th and 9. They're running fake field goals. They're throwing the ball with 2 minutes to go. They're doing everything in their power. And then Cortland Sutton fumbled at the 2-yard line. When they would have gone in, it would have been 35-7 at that point. And what's his name? Sean Payton ripped off his headset and chucked on the ground and screamed at Cortland Sutton and said, "You're old, blah, blah, blah." You're up by 21 points. He was that insistent on running up the score on the Panthers because the Panthers and the Saints. That's what I at least get out of it. I think that's a long rivalry going back, and he knows the Panthers are terrible now, so he's going to do everything in his power to just destroy them, and because he doesn't like them from when he was on the Saints. And then J.C. Horn had some choice words for Sean Payton after the game. He was talking to him while trying to run the score up at the 50, and he's like, "Oh," and then in the post game, Sean Payton's like, "Well, they're a terrible team, blah, blah, blah," just taking shots. And I understand they're not a good team, but in the NFL, coaches pay respect. Even if you're a terrible team, they say "Oh, they're a good team. We're playing next week. We're going to make sure we're not overlooking them, blah, blah, blah." Sean Payton's like, "Yeah, that's a terrible team we played, blah, 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 blah." He has some angst against the Panthers because of his time in New Orleans. So, Sean Payton, not a fan, but
yeah, you wouldn't.
We knew this outcome was going to happen.
Yeah. All right, next game is the Chiefs and Raiders. The Raiders actually did a very good job of keeping this game close. It was 20-27 final score. Gardner Minshew had 209 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 80% completion percentage. Very good for him. Their leading rusher only had 15 yards, though, for the Raiders.
Ooh.
Not very good. The Chiefs side of the ball, Patrick Mahomes continues to not need to do all that much. He had 262 yards through the air, 2 passing touchdowns. So shout out to them. They finally got passing touchdowns in the month of October. In case you weren't aware, this was their first week of having passing touchdowns in October. Don't know how that happened. But they keep...
Hey, they're undefeated. They're undefeated.
They're undefeated, and that's what matters. I mean, and that really is... people are upset by this. Oh, the Chiefs, they aren't good. We talked about this last week. They don't need to be good. Okay? They just need to win the games. And as soon as we hit the playoffs, if you think that the Chiefs are going to limp their way to the playoffs and then get blown out by whoever they play in the first or second round, depending on how they finish at this point, second round, and then they're going to get blown out by that team because the Chiefs aren't playing well, you're hysterical. Of course they're going to play well. Patrick Mahomes is going to start playing Patrick Mahomes football again. He's going to, pull out the little wizard magic from Andy Reid's mustache, and he's going to start going crazy. Travis Kelce is going to go crazy when you hit the playoffs. He's going to use the Lucky Charms magic from, now that he's on Lucky Charms boxes. So that's just what's going to happen. They're going to limp Travis Kelce.
He's on. I'm not going to eat any more Lucky Charms. I used to like that cereal.
So, I mean, that's just what's going to happen. The Chiefs are limping their way through the regular season. They're undefeated, but, they just keep winning these games. They don't need to do anything crazy. Win the games, move on. They're going to beat you in the playoffs comes. That's how it's going to be. Yep. Mark our words.
Yep.
All right. Next game here, since that one does not deserve... Oh, yeah, there it is.
Ew. Is that actually a cereal box?
What the Kelce makes. You got the Reese's Puffs Cinnamon Crunch.
Hold on. Yeah, is it a triple?
I need that. 3-in-1?
Okay, I'm actually totally going to get that.
I'm getting that.
It's Reese. Ew. Can we take the Reese Puffs out though?
I like Reese's Puffs. This looks incredibly sugary. This is
I'm
like
sure
no worse
that's
way to start
great
my
for
day.
you. Yeah.
All right, the next game we have here is the Sunday night game. We have the Cowboys and 49ers. We talked about this going into this game. We have two of the most wild injury reports coming into this game. Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey misses practice because he has jury duty. So shout out to him for doing his civic duty. So he misses practice because he has jury duty. The 49ers kicker is injured because that happens. I don't know how you injure your kicker, but he managed it. So going to this game, crazy injury
No,
reports.
no. Hold on. Their backup kicker was also injured last week.
That's insane. I did not know that, actually.
Debbie posted a reel. Shout out to Debbie, though, also. The reels Debbie's been cooking up have been stellar. But, yes, we just posted a reel about how San Francisco's kicker, Moody, what's his first name? Jake Moody. Is injured last week. Yeah, and we clowned on their medical staff. Now that another kicker is injured. How do two kickers on the same team get injured? Like, one shouldn't get injured, which is crazy. But the Cowboys, sorry, I completely interrupted what you were saying.
No, you're good. You're good.
The 49ers dominated this game from start to 3/4 of the way because it was about 30-10, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Like this game was over. And halfway through the fourth quarter, the Cowboys do what the Cowboys have done all season. And when the game's a blowout, they start stat padding and they make it a closer game. They lose this game 30-24, but everybody who watched this game knows it was not 30-24. They did not lose by 6. They lost by 20 plus. And no Cowboys fan can be excited coming from this game. And they continue to struggle.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, they stat padded. They scored 14 points in the last quarter. So
in the last half of the quarter. Yeah.
Exactly. And both of them were like, okay, you already know that the 49ers are playing. They're like, back up everyone's, because why are you going to get your guys hurt when you're already up by so much? So CeeDee Lamb had 2 go-ahead touchdowns because no one was guarding him literally at all. So stat padding, I mean, whatever works. If that's what you need to get your next contract, go for it, I guess. But they are just not winning games. 49ers needed this win desperately. Like you said, the Cardinals are atop the division right now, which no one would have expected. We all expected that the 49ers would be on top of that division, but that's not the case at the moment. So they need to find their way back. They need to get healthy and get healthy quick. So this win was big for them.
Yeah. And then if we just want to jump into this last game, Austin, if you don't care, I'm going to go ahead. I want to paint you a little story, all right, for this final game. So first of all, I'll just say the Steelers won this game 26-18. Russell Wilson has completely changed the Steelers offense. Okay, I'll just say that. They, unfortunately, because me and you are very big Justin Fields fans, Russell Wilson has completely changed his offense. They put up 26 points against a good Giants defense, and their defense continues to be their defense, and the Steelers are winning games, and they're honestly a little bit scary now with Russell Wilson at quarterback, which is crazy to say. All right, but here we go. Here's the picture. Here's the story. Imagine you're going into one of your fantasy football leagues, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of your money leagues, where you have a buy-in. So this is one of your more important fantasy football leagues. It's not Dynasty, it's the other league. Mm-hmm. And you have very little chance to win, like maybe 11. You're up by, I believe, 4. You have Chris Boswell, the Steelers kicker. And you're going up against Malik Neighbors and Pittsburgh's defense. All right. Things, you're not going to win the game. Like you're not expecting it. It's fine. Chris Boswell is kicking field goals left and right. They're getting down the field, but they're not scoring. So it's just field goal. Malik Neighbors was really bottled in this game. He did not do much. He finished, I think, with like 10 points, which is fine. But when Chris Boswell, on the other hand, finished with like 16, something like that, like It was very good. Final drive, I'm leading, or no, we'll say like second to last drive. I'm up by like 8 points, and it's like, yes, like oh my goodness, I just had the most improbable win ever, and I needed this. And then the Steelers go. TJ Watt gets a strip sack, so right there is about 3 points because it's a sack and then the fumble recovery. So there's it's like a 5-point game or so, and then the Giants get the ball and they throw a bomb to Malik Neighbors, and he catches it, and then they punt or score or something like that. I think they punt because the Steelers didn't lose any points. And then, so I will paint the picture. I'm up by 3, I think. Going into the final drive of the game, Malik Neighbors gets like a 20-yard catch, but it's half PPR. So I'm winning by like, actually, no, that wasn't, whatever the situation is, there's 18 seconds left. I'm winning by .07. All we need is a couple incomplete passes, and the game is over, and I win. The most improbable game ever. Last play of the game, Daniel Jones has 2 wide open dudes to the right of the field. Throws it 10 miles over their head. Intercepted. 2 points for the defense. I lose my fantasy game. Austin, that was one of the most saddest ways for me to lose a fantasy game. Like, I literally, you might think it's a little ridiculous. I was awake, of course, but I was sitting on the recliner, and when that happened, I fell to my knees in the living room, and I was like, and I just put my hands over my eyes, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was just waiting to look up at the screen and see a flag, and there was none, and I lost. But I figured you'd like to hear that.
Your fantasy matchup was more interesting than this actual matchup.
It was much more interesting. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have watched this game. I mean, I know we have the football podcast, and that's kind of what we should do, but I didn't really care for this game. I don't think anybody really did.
That's valid.
But yeah, all right. We can jump into the week 9 picks now. I know that was a lot of games to recap, but actually, I lied. First, we're going to talk to you about our friends at K&F Construction. K&F Construction has been serving the Northeast Ohio community for over 16 years, specializing in composite decks. K&F Construction takes the time and effort to provide the service and product that you deserve for your home. You can call K&F Construction today at 330-575-2465 for a free estimate. Again, that's 330-575-2465. You can also visit kfdex.com, which is linked in the description below. K&F Construction, let us build your dream backyard. So, Austin, we're going to go ahead and jump into the Week 9 pick'ems. It's a pretty good contest right now. Wink, wink. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying you going to a fancy restaurant with a bear. But, you know, I'm not gonna lie. You really messed up because you said on the podcast last week, we both said, for the Bears and Washington game, if Jayden Daniels plays, I'm gonna pick Washington. If he doesn't, I'm gonna pick the Bears. Jayden Daniels played. I switched my pick. You did not.
I
gained one up on you last week. Yeah, I know. So I almost sent a text out, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to because I'd rather you forget and go on a fancy date with a bear. So
sportsmanship is dead, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, anything goes. Any rules go in this situation.
Sportsmanship is dead.
That's fine. I'm not going to be sitting at a fancy restaurant with a bear. I'll be sitting at a different table watching you from afar, looking at you and pointing at you, looking at strangers and pointing, saying, look at that
cornerback. That Bears cornerback taunting the fans, being so cocky that he's going to win that game. I hope that what happened to him happens to you, and you're out here, no sportsmanship, no class, really. And I hope in the dying seconds of the season, you fumble a 10-point lead. And I win off of a crazy Hail Mary attempt. All right, without further ado, first game we have here is the Texans and Jets. This is a no-brainer for me. Even though for some reason the Jets are favored, I am going Texans.
I'm going Texans as well. I think it's because they don't have Nico Collins and they don't have Trevon Diggs now, but I'm still going Texans.
The Jets are just not. Yeah.
All
right, Cowboys, Falcons. Who do we have here?
This is a hard one, but no, it's not. I'm picking the Falcons.
Falcons. All right, Ravens, Broncos.
I'm picking the Ravens to bounce back.
Ravens for sure. Then Buffalo and Miami.
I'm going Buffalo. They always beat Tua.
I am going with Miami in this one. I think. Tua had a great game back. And Tyreek Hill did not play well last week because of his foot injury. I think that he will be okay. I think that the Dolphins are going to win this one. The Bills have been struggling.
And he wonders why he's going to go on a date with a bear, Keegan. Or Debbie. That's funny.
Name reveal. All right. Saints Panthers. Who you got here, Kadin?
Dude, I don't even know.
Come on, pick against your team. Pick against your team. Come on. Rivalry game. Come on, pick against your team. It's easy. I'm going Saints if that makes it any easier for you. I'm going Saints. Come on. Come on, pick the Saints.
No, I'm going to go Saints as well, but that's going to be a terrible game. Oh, my goodness. If there's one game the Panthers will win the rest of the season, it is this one, though.
All right. Bengals, Raiders.
Bengals.
Yeah, I got Bengals too. Browns, Chargers.
I'm going to go Chargers.
Give me the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to this game, actually.
Are you?
In Cleveland for this game. Yeah.
Awesome. Was that your first NFL game?
Yes, I've never been to an NFL game before. I've been to college games, but never NFL. Yeah.
That's awesome. Who are you going with?
Avery.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right. Commanders and Giants.
I am going to go... Oh, what am I talking? I'm going Commanders.
Same. Oh, I accidentally clicked that wrong. All right. Patriots, Titans.
Yikes. Actually, that is a terrible game. Wow, there's two horrible games this week. I'm going to go with the Titans.
I'm going Patriots, actually. If the Patriots can beat the Jets, I think they can beat the Titans, and the Titans have not played well at all. Chicago, Arizona. Who you got?
This is another tough game. I'm going to go with Chicago in this one.
I'm going to go Chicago as well. I mean, hopefully this will be another good game, but I think Chicago's just a slightly better team. Jacksonville and Philadelphia.
I'm going to go Philly.
Same. Here we go. Lions, Packers. This should be a good game.
It should be a good game. I'm going to go with Detroit, though. They're looking unstoppable.
I am as well. All right. Seahawks and Rams.
Wow, that's another good game. I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
I'm going Rams in this one. The Seahawks definitely struggled last week, but that was in big part because DK Metcalf did not play. But I do trust that the Rams will play well. They have all their receivers back. Kyron Williams, obviously, on a hot streak. So I'm going to go with them. Mm-hmm. Colts and Vikings.
I'm going Vikings.
I'm going Vikings as well, but I think it'll be a better game than people think just because they are playing Joe Flacco. All right, and then this should be a good one. I got Tampa Bay and Kansas City.
Going Kansas City. I called them to go undefeated, so I'm going to keep picking them for the podcast.
I am going to pick Kansas City. I don't like it very much, but they are undefeated, and they are the best team in football other than maybe the Lions, so I'm going to go Kansas City.
Hey, you know what?
I get it.
I'm changing one of my picks.
No, you can't do that unless it's one
that
we're...
It's one that we agree on. It's one that we agree on.
Okay, that's fine then.
I'm going with the Panthers to beat the Saints.
Yeah, I knew you would.
That's crazy.
Soft.
That's crazy.
So, we differed on a fair amount this week.
Yeah. All right, Debbie, did you say you had a question before we jumped into the segment of the week?
Oh,
yes,
Debbie
I do.
did say that.
So
hold on, let me finish my picks. I'm so sorry,
it.
Debbie. I need to have my full brain for your question.
It's a very intellectual, in-depth question. As you know.
I will say, Debbie came up to me at church on Sunday and was like, "I have such a great question for the podcast." But
so here's a question. All right. So I know there's been a lot of controversy around this topic, and I think you guys need to address it. But what are your thoughts on the NCAA? Kind of like the things that have been coming out of it. Some of the challenges for some of the teams, some of the coaches. There's been some rumors kind of circling the whole NCAA. And I just thought, as a sports podcast and a football podcast, we might want to cover this subject. Personally,
Austin,
I'm a VTech. I'm a VTech fan. Villager Tech right here. Diehard Villager Tech.
Austin, why do you look so confused? Do you not know what he's talking about?
I got it.
Okay. I was gonna say, right.
Took me a second.
Those are funny. I find those videos very hilarious. Me personally, Debbie, I'm a big Moo State? Yeah.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
And the fact that their stadium was bombed, it's beyond me. I that couldn't sleep for a week after that. After I saw that twice, not even once, twice.
Yeah.
But they are unveiling their new stadium soon, so I hear it's pretty good.
I mean,
What is this
Enderman, whatever. They have a sweet
Enderman
stadium,
University.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
They got a sweet stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excited for the Move Tech review.
No, Village. Did you see? I can't believe what this podcast has become. All right. No, all right. We're gonna jump into the special segment of the week. Oh, go for it, Debbie.
All right, welcome to our segment of the week. This week we have, I believe it's Matchup Madness. Is that correct, Kadin?
Correct.
Sweet. So, for those of you who don't know how this works, we will be taking one player and matching them up against a handful of other players and deciding which one we would like more on our team. So, this week, Kadin, who do we have?
Our matchup madness for this week is Baker Mayfield versus the field. The jersey that's sitting in the studio. Baker Mayfield versus 5 different QBs. So it's kind of like a speed run type thing. This is a quicker segment, but Austin, let's just jump right into this. We'll go Baker Mayfield versus Tua. Baker Mayfield versus Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. That didn't actually take me that long to think about. I mean, over this last year and even like this season and the year before, I mean, he's really proven himself a lot. Done very, very well. And Tua, he is a good quarterback. He is the most valuable player on that Miami Dolphins squad, clearly. But I think that he still does have a couple of glaring issues, namely one, injuries. I'd be very concerned if I had to pick between the two. I'd be very concerned about the injuries that Tua sustains to his head. And two, he does still struggle to throw the deep ball. So for those reasons, I will go Baker Mayfield.
I'm also going Baker. I mean, seeing what he can do even without his weapons there in Tampa Bay this past week, and Baker's completely revived his career. He changed the culture in Cleveland when he was there, and he's winning games in a tougher than what people thought NFC South. So I am going Baker Mayfield as well. Next up, we have Baker versus Debbie's boy, Jalen Hurts.
Ooh, that one is it's a lot tougher, actually. I am still going to go Baker in this one. If I remember correctly, the Buccaneers did beat the Eagles.
They did.
So in this season they did that. So there is that for starters. For secondsies, Jalen Hurts struggled a little bit without AJ Brown. Earlier this year. Baker Mayfield, like we saw this week, I think that this conversation would be very, very different if we hadn't seen Baker Mayfield without his top two options. Now we've seen Baker Mayfield without his top two options. Look what he can do with like virtually no ones. Okay, like he did fantastic. So Jalen Hurts struggles without AJ Brown. Baker Mayfield perfectly fine without his top two guys. I'm going Baker Mayfield here.
Mm-hmm. I do think some of that has to do with Atlanta having a softer defense. But I'm going Jalen Hurts here. I think his rushing ability, I know we were clowning on his little 1-yard rush, but it is a part of his game. He's pretty good at it. But he has a good deep ball. He has good accuracy. Jalen Hurts has been to a Super Bowl. I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. He had a bad end of the last season and a struggle to start, but he's gaining more speed. I still am picking Jalen Hurts here. Next up, we have Baker versus Jordan Love.
This one is easier for me than the Jalen Hurts one. I'm going Baker Mayfield. Jordan Love has been playing very, very well. Don't give me that. Jordan Love has been playing very well, but he only has
found the Baker Mayfield glazer.
Yes, that is me. You knew this going. Look, I didn't know this.
I knew you were gonna pick Baker. Like I knew we were gonna. I know that, but I'm gonna pick Baker for some of them too. But you're picking Baker for I didn't know you were gonna pick him this often. I would have picked another player.
Unless Patrick Mahomes is on that list. I'm going Baker. I'm going Baker Mayfield. I think he's better than. I mean, I don't know if he's better than Jordan Love, but who would I rather have on my team? I'd rather have Baker. He is an absolute dog. Like if I'm gonna which quarterback in the NFL is gonna put his head down and run through someone and not get a concussion? It's gonna be Baker Mayfield. I'm gonna go with him.
I'm gonna go Jordan Love. I mean, he has that gunslinger mentality. He's gonna throw picks, but he's also gonna throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he's going to throw some picks. And I mean, in only his second really full season as a starter, he's already developing as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFC in the NFL. So I'm going to go Jordan Love. Next up, Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff, Mr. 82 passing yards, but 52 points himself.
For this one, I will be going Jared Goff.
I'm going Baker. What? Or that's insane to me. Debbie's screaming. Debbie, shh.
No, we can.
It's okay.
No,
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, Debbie. It's. I like being in the studio with Debbie. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Baker. Jared Goff has such a situation around him where he can just run the ball, and then play action. The whole defense bites to that run, and then he makes a pass. Yes, I know, he's still a solid QB, but I'm gonna go Baker because Baker he's the more tough NFL QB in my eyes. And then the last one, Baker Mayfield versus Jayden Daniels, the rookie sensation.
As much as I love Baker, you do have to go Jayden Daniels on this one. I mean, the young upside is not to be overlooked. Baker Mayfield isn't old by any means, but Jayden Daniels' first season in the NFL, playing like he is with the confidence that he's playing with in Washington. Are you kidding? Washington is one of the worst situations to be drafted into, and the way that he's playing, you got to go Jayden Daniels. Imagine what he could do in a better system.
And he's only going to get better. It's only his rookie year, so I'm also going Jayden Daniels. That was this week's episode of Matchup Madness. And that was this week's episode of K&A Football. Thank you guys for listening and watching. I know it was a little bit longer of an episode, but we will see you guys next week for Week 9 recap.